Welcome to the Authorpreneur podcast, where we talk to authors and business owners about how they are using books to market themselves and their businesses. I'm your host, Chris Green, and in each episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, we talk to a successful author and business owner to see exactly how they are using their books and author status to grow their businesses and serve their customers. We'll talk about what's working, the benefits of becoming a published author, and we may even come up with some creative new marketing strategies. In this episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, I talk with Mitchell Levy, author of over 60 books, including Credibility Nation. Mitchell is a global credibility expert whose purpose in life is to serve those who want to be seen as credible and win the war against those in Dubious Nation. He has interviewed over 500 thought leaders from across the world on their credibility. This led him to uncover amazing insights on what credibility really is and why it's important in today's world. He has been a thought leadership evangelist for over 25 years and is a two-time TEDx Commencement speaker who sat as a chairman on the board of a NASDAQ-listed company. He is also an international best-selling author of over 60 books and has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 850 books. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. All right, Mitchell Levy is here. We're going to be talking about books and credibility and humanity and a lot of different things. You guys know me, Chris Green, the authorpreneur, trying to help anyone who wants to publish a book or already have a book published, use that book to establish credibility, to book speaking gigs, whatever it is. There's lots of marketing opportunities that open when you have a book. Mitchell, I'm excited for this. We are going to talk about all kinds of different things because you have published even longer than I have. When did you publish your very first book?
Officially as a book publisher in 2005. But let's go back to, I think it was it's somewhere around 88 or 89. It was my first self-published book.
And I forget, I need to look it up when CreateSpace came out, and CreateSpace has, of course, been renamed just KDP.
This was pre that. This was
pre.com, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I was at Sun Microsystems in Silicon Valley, and I've always been this person who questions if like 95% of the people say jump, I always ask why. So we were thinking about buying a house, and in Silicon Valley, now prices is skyrocketing now. Back then, in those dollars, compared to where my wife came from, we never told her parents what we paid for the house because it was ludicrous money. So I was like, well, does it make sense? Every book said yes. But none of them actually, so I actually did a spreadsheet and I did an analysis. Now the analysis was very simple. The analysis said, if buying, and by the way, this is like, if you have a passion, if you're thinking of writing a book and you have a passion, I made a mistake, so I'll tell you what the mistake is, and then we'll jump into the rest of the thing. My passion was, is it good or bad to actually buy a house? And the summary of all that research, it just depends on what real estate's going to do, and it depends on your propensity to save. So the good news about having a house, it's a forced savings account. If you are moving to an area where real estate prices are not going to go up and you could rent and save and bet instead, it's better to rent and save. If you're going to move to an area where real estate prices are going to go up, then you buy a house. It's kind of simple, but the book was called Home Ownership, the American Myth, because the myth was simply everyone always assumed prices were going up. And so far, that's mostly true, but not in all geographic regions. Okay, so that was fun. Okay. Here's the mistake I made. I busted my butt. Because it was called Home Ownership, the American Myth, I got press around the country. That was at the stage where it cost me $2,000 for a shitty cover. And that was the best I could get. Now I have, somebody from the Philippines that'll do it for like $10. But the interesting part was I did the book and I sold the book in the spreadsheet so people could do their own analysis. I might have made $70,000, right? Now I was working full time at Sun Microsystems, so I had a financial sponsor, and I spent all of my free time on this. This was my hobby. Now, if I really wanted to make it, when I looked at it overall, the amount of time I put in, the dollar amount I made per hour spent was just, minimum wage. So the thing that I realized then is if I only tied into either a rental service where I got paid, if somebody decided to rent, I recommended a rental service, got affiliate commissions, or if somebody wanted to buy, I connected to a real estate service and I was able to connect to the right broker. That, because I had all that attention, that would have allowed me to really monetize on this asset and the time and energy I spent on the book. I just didn't even know. People didn't talk that way at the time.
To me, that is so fascinating, that you saw what is so readily and easily available to people today. You saw so long ago of like, wait a minute, I can publish something, I can tie in like a spreadsheet or something. So like, imagine like downloading like bonus assets now with QR codes and all this stuff. But then saying, yeah, I made money on the book, but it would have been better if I had some kind of affiliate or referral system. And then you're just using the book as like a gear or a cog in a bigger system. I guess I've kind of been doing this for a while, but like that's what to me is so fascinating. And we've talked a little bit already about like just the democratization of all this stuff. The $2,000 cover that is now 10, the minimum print run of 1,000, which is now 1. Like all of these things have made it so much easier. Is there a part of you that looks back and like, oh my gosh, I wish I had the ability and the tools that I have today back then? Oh my, I would have done it so much differently. I would have had so much more success.
Chris, it's a great question. And I'm going to say if somebody is asking themselves that question, just take it, roll it in a ball, throw it out. Because the concept of regret that then leads towards pregret puts guilt in your mind. I like it. I did. So I'm going to say for anyone who is watching or listening, one of the things I did is I did get a chance to sit on the board of a public company. And so when I would make decisions in the public company, what I would say is, do I have enough information? Right? Before I make a decision, have I researched enough? Do I know enough? Had I had enough people come in? And if I didn't have enough information, I wouldn't make the decision. And I had enough information. I made the decision with as much information as I thought was possible for me as a board member to get. I've also lived my life that way. At the time, that was the best information I could have. Now, in today's world, book publishing is democratized. That means anyone who wants to could almost snap their fingers. As a matter of fact, what's even worse, you could actually snap your fingers and you could go to, there are programs on the market that you could say, I'm writing a book on grooming dogs, write the book for me. And you could buy a program for $50 and it'll write the book for you. And then you could then go to the Book Baby or somebody else and say, publish. So you could actually be a published author with about 5 to 10 minutes worth of effort. Now, what that's going to do for you is absolutely nothing unless you put an architecture and a plan and what you do. Now, if you're a book groomer, if that's who you are, if that's your business, that's your profession, you make copies of the book and you give it to people that come in, and it's a nice book that follows through. You don't care about book sales. What you care about is the reputation of you having that asset. You put a picture of you grooming a dog on the cover. You don't do any professional stuff. You do you, and that's the book you give away. Now, I'm just going to say all the information you have now, what it means is it's democratized. So now it's not about the book. So the great Marshall Goldsmith, I had a pleasure of spending a week with him and getting all this knowledge, trainer, everything else. And he says something really important. The book does not work for you. You work for the book. So if you have any untold expectations that the book is going to magically do stuff for you, once a product gets democratized, the answer is no. If you then say, hey, this is an asset, this is something I have in my arsenal, this is something I can do. Notice when you asked me the question, if you knew then, the only thing I didn't know at the time is I wasn't sure when I was doing the real estate book that was a hobby. It really was a hobby. It was what I did with all my spare time. I just now am smart enough to have labeled it as a hobby. I didn't at the time. I thought it was going to do something different. But then I reflected and saw what it did. I saw once I started publishing for other people. We've published over 750 books. Once we started publishing for other people, it was very easy for me to go, oh yeah, I could see it. And anyhow, sorry, I went off.
No, there's so many. I sense so many similarities. And would you say that you published your first book because you were buying a house, like you were interested in this, you were doing your homework, and like, hey, I might as well kind of share this with other people, and like, yeah, I could share it through a book, and that's exactly how I published my first book. And just what you're just saying, like when you look back and you're like, oh, I see how these things kind of went together. I mean, I think that's something that you can't teach somebody. Because my big experience when I published my first book is, Amazon was coming out with some new programs, and we had software to help people who are using these programs, and we were the first, we were the best, and we got a lot of questions. So I wrote down all the most common questions and answered them, and then stumbled onto CreateSpace. It was just going to be a PDF. I just sent it to people, hey, if you have these questions, please just read this first before coming to our support desk and posting in our Facebook group and all this stuff. And then I stumbled onto self-publishing, and I'm like, you know what? This is like pretty long. This is like a 350-page PDF. Like it covers everything. It was thorough. And I was like, well, let me see if I can publish this. And I remember hitting that publish button. It was like, it was done. And I was like, I feel like that should have been harder. And my mom actually, me growing up, I grew up in the printing world. Like my mom was a buyer for a printing company, so like the big presses and all the offset stuff. Like I was around that as a kid. We were playing with the scraps and the big paper cutters and all this stuff. So I knew like the printing world. And then all of a sudden, I'm a published author just by clicking a few buttons. And it wasn't just that, but it was how people started to treat me. They're like, oh my gosh, you wrote a book? Oh, hey, can you come speak at our event? Hey, we need a keynote speaker for our Amazon event. Can you come speak? And I'm like, I'm just a regular guy who like wrote down all the answers to the questions. Like, it wasn't a well-written book. It wasn't well edited. It had an uncapitalized I in the middle of it, but it existed, right? And don't get me wrong, it was good. It wasn't polished. But seeing that, like, wait a minute, I see how books can be leveraged. And like, I talk to a lot of people in entrepreneurship, and they want to start their own business, and they all want to do things fast. They want to make $1 million in 1 week. I'm like, no, there's really no shortcuts like that, thankfully. But I do think that having a book is a fast track to establishing credibility, to getting attention. And like we said at the very beginning, and you mentioned it too, it still has to be good. You can't just chat GPT a book and be like, hey, I'm an author, what's up? You will get smoked out. You will get found out so quickly, because I make the case frequently that you cannot fake authenticity for very long. You might be able to fake it a little bit, but not for the long term. Authenticity and transparency over time, I've never seen it. I don't think people can fake over time. And you have to play this over time, because your book's going to be out there over time. People are going to read it. You're going to have to take the reviews, the good and the bad, right? So hopefully you're actually putting out a good book. And if you do, that's where I get excited. And like, ooh, the marketing opportunities that have opened up now that we can do free plus shipping book funnels, we can get your book in people's hands. You got the digital, you got lead magnets, you got all. Yes, now it gets interesting by having a book. And my mom she was so mad, not mad, like mad, like in a good way, when she found out how easy it was to self-publish with Amazon. She was like, you can upload on one day, order it the next day, and have one copy, perfect bound, full color, cover, everything for like $6. Like, she was mad. She's like, that used to cost tens of thousands of dollars. And now we can have our book on Amazon overnight. Amazon will print one at a time. Like, it's so easy that I frequently go back to. You've seen the movie The Incredibles, the Pixar movie?
Yeah.
I call this line all the time, is when the bad guy says, when everyone's super, then no one will be. And it's all mental. We're all super right now. We have iPhones, and we have self-publishing, and we can all do this. But when we can all do it, we don't feel special anymore, right? Imagine if you had KDP in 1988. You'd be like, oh my gosh, the world would be like. The time doesn't change.
I did the traditional offset. And then when I started my publishing in 2005, I still did offset because, Amazon wasn't there yet. And some of the print publishings, print on demand options, I use Lightning Source. So some of the print on demand options weren't there yet. Hey, I have a question. You probably know this answer, so I'm curious about your audience. If you look at Amazon with all the books published, how many books do you need to publish to be in the top 50% of authors who have sold books?
Who have sold books? That's a good question. Do you know the answer?
I do know the answer.
Like the sales, so the top 50, because there's a lot of books that I'm sure that have never sold. I would tell me if I'm right on this part. Would you say there's like 60 million book listings about
I
now?
can't remember exactly. I could probably Google while we're talking, or I will.
It was,
I will.
I know it was
I'll
over 40
I'll
a while
Gemini
ago.
while we're talking and see if Gemini knows that answer. We'll
Because a lot of
see.
them, yeah, if they don't have a sales rank, for people who don't know too much of the details on Amazon, if it has no sales rank, it likely hasn't sold ever. And I see a lot of books that come back that way. And I've heard about 5,000 new books get published every day on Amazon. It might be 3 to 5,000. I don't know if that's a rumor or if that comes from Amazon.
By the way, this was not a
Um,
test. This was more. Yeah, it Gemini is not being very specific.
but there's
So,
a
but
lot
anyhow,
of books
what do
out
you think?
there,
What do you think? It's not a test. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong.
like in the top
Ah,
million.
so I went to Gemini. I said, "How many books are listed on Amazon?" It says, "Oh, it says millions." I said, "Well, give me a number." Assuming it would remember the previous question, it gave me the number 42. 42 is the
42
answer to
million.
life, universe, and everything.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. Yeah.
okay,
It's definitely more than 42 million. It was 40 million a long time, not a long time ago, but many years ago. I know it got that high. Because we used to track. We had a book scanning business, and like we scanned a book with like who has the highest, who's scanned a book that has the highest sales rank, meaning it sold so long ago that it's literally crept to 25 million sales rank. They hadn't sold in like 12 years or something.
wow.
And I'm pretty sure it got up to there were at least 40 million listings. But just being on Amazon, I mean, you know this. Like it used to be, like to be a published author, you had to be in Barnes and Noble. You had to be in a bookstore. Now nobody cares. Nobody knows
Right.
where the closest Barnes and Noble is, and if you just exist on Amazon, you get published author status, and that's what I feel people they don't realize they can tap into published author
Oh,
status
absolutely. Okay, so
so much easier.
you're gonna say I can't guess. It's hard to tell. Is that
That's what
so? How many
that's what I was
books?
going
How
to
many
say.
books? Yeah. Give me a guess. How many books
Oh, the
to
top
be in the?
million is it a
Oh no,
million?
be in the top 50% of of authors.
Geez, I don't know. I don't even have a good guess.
That's fine. When I do this in audiences, and I got this from Marshall Goldsmith because he does this. It's really powerful. Sometimes people say 10,000, 5,000, 3,000. Okay, I'm going to do the number. First, I'm going to show it visually for those who are watching, but then I'll say it out loud. 2. If you sell 2 books in a year, you are officially in the top 50% of authors
Oh,
who have sold books. 2.
when I said a million, I thought you meant like top million books that sell.
That's you and your mom buying your book. You're in the top 50% of books sold. So that's because book publishing is officially democratized. As a publisher, by the way, so why would you do? I'll just say, if you are listening to this, if you're watching this, and you want to self-publish a book, join Chris's community. He'll go through all the mechanics. He'll make it easy. He'll be straightforward. If you want a publisher, the for me, I made a ton of money on publishing until COVID. Because where I was really making my money, I'm a hybrid publisher. So people pay up front. I make a little bit of profit on that. And then I get 50% of profit on the back end. The authors I would go with are the people who were speaking and selling at events. What they were getting as a service was not just a publisher. They were getting somebody who would talk to their clients, make sure the books got to the right place at the right time, paid attention, all of that stuff, and I'd make 50%. They'd make their money on the speaking fees or in the
Sure.
consulting fees, and they'd make a little bit of money on their book sales, and we'd split that. And that turned out to be a really nice business for me. COVID came, people were not going to physically speak. My business went down to zero. What happens now is that book publishing is democratized. So as a publisher, I'll tell you how I'm looking at it. It's very simple. When things become democratized, you have people entering the market as a publisher, and they use this really special business model. The business model is called stupid. I can't compete with stupid, right? So a stupid business model. One of my friends does this. He was he worked for a magazine, paid article writer for a magazine. They don't pay him anymore. Lost that job. So he's really good at what he does. He'll publish for free, and he'll make money. He makes $1.50 per book on the back end. I just, so when industry has become democratized, and I knew that when I started in 2005, it's time to leave. So if you want to publish a book and you want somebody who, I'm going to say the word integrity. I'm going to say what I charge, I'm going to say what I do, and I'm going to deliver what I say. Most of the time I deliver a little bit better because I want to beat expectations. So the authors who continue to publish with me now, and it's only 10% of my business, I do other things. The authors that publish with me now is because they're like, oh, Mitchell, you said this and you delivered this, and wow. I'm like, yes, right. That, and that's, but life has changed. If you're going to a publisher and they make a ton of promises, um, have them validate that, whatever it is.
Sure. There's only so many guarantees and promises that you can make, or even, and there's a limited number that you need to make. Sometimes like more is kind of less. Like you can oversell something, and I think it's good to be specific. Like one of the first questions I always ask people is like, why do you want to write a book? Like, is it for speaking gigs? Is it just to have author status because it's just a dream of yours? You don't actually care if it sells. Is it just for family members? Is it just for archival, for legacy? For people have different reasons. And I've settled in. I think you've kind of settled in similarly to finding people who can leverage a book into something else to find clients, to grow their business, to get speaking gigs. And they've realized, at least I hope they have at the beginning, they're like, oh, I'm not in it for the royalties. And as much as I say that, because that's most people, you can make significant royalties through books. I don't know if you found this when you went digging a little bit. I published a book in 2014 for $300, and it hit the top 1,000 on Amazon, which I was baffled. I was like, really? I was like, I guess it doesn't take that many sales to reach top 1,000, because it wasn't like thousands and thousands of sales, but it's very logarithmic on Amazon. The top sellers are at the top, and man, it drops off very, very quickly. But you can reach top 1,000 status. And you can imagine top 1,000 status book at a launch for a month, $300 price point. You get a significant royalty check. You're like, wow, this is great. Like I like this. But of course, that was a launch, and like the next month it wasn't as big. But I have been trying to, it's not for everybody, but I do think that you can sell information such as like an online course, depending on what the course is about, that can be quite valuable, and package it as a book. And now you have turned a digital asset into a physical asset, print on demand, completely outsource the payment processing, given a trusted review system. Like I can't edit the reviews. Like either good reviews or bad reviews. And people can see it and be like, you know what? I will buy that $200, $250, $300 book on Amazon. And, they're not going to buy that as their first book. So, have a $10, $15 book to get them into your world with a call to action to join your email list, and have them watch your videos, and then tell them about a special deal you have on another book. It's like, this is where my brain goes when you have like, wait a minute, I can publish anything on Amazon, the world's largest and most trusted marketplace. It's like, if it wasn't built into Amazon, like I don't get excited about Lulu. Like, sorry, Lulu, like, not personal. Ingram Spark, great. Knock yourself out. I'm great company. However, for someone who just wants to like get going and see the benefits quickly and easily, just being on Amazon with KDP, it's so fast. It's unbelievably powerful, which is why I could talk with excitement about it at length with anyone all day long. The doors are open. I mean, I've lost track even what we're talking about. I'm just excited about publishing.
Well, I'll keep you. I love your enthusiasm, and what I like, and I'll just step back for a second. You just articulated a business model and a plan for an author who says, hey, listen, I want to make money with books. What do I do? So I'm just, because you did it so fast, I'll say, well, create your first book. You do a marketing campaign on it. You get people there. By the way, one of the things we sell is a #1 Amazon bestseller campaign. Because if you plan your launch properly, you could always get #1 in a category. Right. So that's a trick people play. And I tell people often, this is a trick. This doesn't mean you're going to get a lot of sales. Right. But here's what you said. Let's do a launch. right? Many authors don't even think they have to put in effort to do a launch. Okay, so do a launch. We do it on an inexpensive book. You get people to read, and more importantly, you get them to give you their email address to sign up for your newsletter. You then start sharing some good, compelling content. Now you make that automatic, and that content is just text and video. And at some point in time, you could either get them to something else, or you tell them, hey, listen, go to this live course. It's X. Or if you want to buy the book, which incorporates elements of the course, it's only half of X or a tenth of X. And that's where the $200 or the $300 thing comes in. That's a campaign, right? That's architecting a campaign. That you can't do that overnight. That takes a little while to put together.
Takes
But
time.
that's a
But it is
great
a system.
campaign. It's a system. It's an approach. That's what you're looking for. If you're thinking about a book, and this was my superpower was clarity. So when you're thinking about a book or anything, one of the things I've been told, I'm one of the best, if not the best person in terms of helping individuals and companies articulate in less than 10 words where they're executing on their purpose, right? In less than 10 words. 98% of people I interviewed don't have clarity. 98%. Between 2019 and 2020, I did my own Napoleon Hill journey. I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. You were watching one of the TED Talks. I did a TED Talk and a book. And what's interesting is I now have helped over 1,000 companies and individuals articulate their clarity statement. Now, by the way, I call this, and Chris, I'm happy to share with you the formula of that. Right.
Sure.
So first of all, I'll give it a name. I call it a CPOP. What is your CPOP? What is your customer point of possibilities? Now you notice there's a lot behind the scenes of just those words. It's a customer. Who is your customer? Where are you making money? Right. And then the point of possibilities is, are you solving a pain point for them, or are you delivering pleasure for them? Right. So when you ask somebody what's your CPOP, it's in less than 10 words. It's kind of the playground. Where do you play? What do you do? Now, yours would be pretty easy because you do, and we could do yours live if you want. What's really interesting is the formula for the CPOP is two elements. First, who do you serve? Right? So it's 1, 2, or 3 words. Sometimes when you say to somebody, who are you? What do you do? Or, they get their 30-second elevator pitch and they spend like 10 words talking about all the different audiences they serve. By the time you're done, they don't hear anything else that person says. I mean, it's gone. So 1, 2, or 3 words in terms of who. The next part of it is either what is the pain point or what is the pleasure point. And 80% of the time, it's the pain point that you're solving, right? Now, I'm going to go a little bit woo-woo for a second. It turns out that if you're doing what you love, your CPOP is the actual words that represent the frequency in which your body is vibrating, right? We as humans, we vibrate at a frequency. We don't really talk about it. We call that woo-woo. But at the end of the day, if you wake up in the morning and you're doing what you love, I can give you language that explains it. And if you could explain it in less than 10 words with that level of clarity, you can then, and you start living in that frequency, you'll start attracting more people to you because they know what playground you play. Very simple.
And you must feel better too.
Oh, so by the way, I now figure out where we're playing together, you and I. Right. So so the interesting is yes. Yes. Let me do the yes and a big and. Okay. The answer is yes. Because when you are in alignment with who you are, it just feels magical. I mean, it just, every time, that's one of my daily, I do a daily questions. One of my daily questions is, did I deliver magic to one person today? I mean, you feel magical. Now, let me give you the downside. When I give somebody the CPOP, they're feeling like this is crazy cool. Like they're feeling really amazingly good, right? What comes after the CPOP is to tell me more. You know, if you share your CPOP and you're talking to somebody who is either a referral partner or potential customer, they're going to say, "Tell me more." If they don't say, "Tell me more," maybe they don't care about your CPOP. They don't care about your playground. It doesn't mean they don't care about you. They just don't care about the playground. So the thing is, if somebody says, "Tell me more," they're either a referral partner or a prospect. And then you share what's relevant to them. And you can do it within a minute because the clarity that you have gives you incremental credibility. Super powerful. All right. So good news, bad news. Really bad news. The world wants to get you out of alignment. It's kind of how we're structured. I don't know why, but this is humanity. So of the 1,000 individuals and companies I've worked with, 90% without any incremental follow through, 90% will get out of alignment somewhere between 2 hours and 2 weeks, right? Because this is what happens. Oh my God, I talked with Mitchell Levy. He gave me the CPOP. It is so amazing. I feel so good about it. They'll share it. And the person will say, that's not really it. Can you change these words? Because we're all experts at wordsmithing. When the person changes their words, their frequency doesn't change alongside with it. What happens is they get out of alignment. So where I need support is I'm looking for the people like you that if we can get your audience in frequency, in alignment, then someone like you can keep them there. Like I do it for my audience. I'll share my CPOP and tell me more and then we'll do yours. I do it for my audience, but there are millions of people who could take the role of allowing those people who are in alignment to stay in alignment. I call that CPOPing, right? So you're CPOPing. What you do with your community is essentially CPOPing. I just want to give you a CPOP so that when people come in, they know exactly what you're doing. Let me share mine first, and then we'll do yours. So because clarity is so horizontal, it's hard to sell something that's just universal across the board. It's universal, by the way, just to be clear, 98% of humans don't have clarity. Okay, so I needed to pick a vertical. If you ever read Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm, what he says is he calls it a bowling alley, pick one vertical, one bowling alley, then get some form of dominance or at least awareness there, then go to another bowling alley. Once you have two, then you could go horizontal. My first bowling alley happens to be coaches because I'm a Marshall Goldsmith 100 coach. I'm one of the top in the top executive coaches on the planet. What I'll say is I pick coaches because they have the same problem that there are so many coaches out, just like there are so many authors out there. So my CPOP is 8 words. And normally what I'll do is I could say my CPOP is, or I might say there's an audience that's attracted to the work I do. Then I'll do a pause. Coaches who've created a job, not a business.
That's good. There's a lot of that.
There's a ton. See, by the way, thank you. So you're a referral partner. That nod, that recognition was enough. Let me tell you a little bit more. Let's assume that you know a ton of coaches and those coaches are really good at what they do. They've been taught, actually, they've been certified to do transformation, to bring a business or a company from A to B. You know what they've not been taught? And you know what they suck at? Running a business, having referral partners, having business come in the door, being able to have a steady flowing business. We have a done with you program where they get a coach, they get access to a mastermind, and they get leads on a weekly basis so we can help smooth out their business. Right? So what's interesting, now, did I want to do that? Not initially. I'm doing it now because I'm excited about it. But as soon as I get this rolling and it's rolling really well, and I then find I'm sure one of my clients will then take it over so I can then move on to something else. I'm doing it because I need to effectively show CPOPing in this space.
I like your CPOP. I'm like, ooh, that sounds fun, right? Like,
but
you've
I may
identified
decide
your
to
ideal
stick with
client.
it for a long time because, by the way, it is so much fun. What's not fun about it is sometimes humans get in their own way, and you can't. So it's fun if you are very selective on your criteria for letting people in the door. Because if somebody is not coachable, they can't help themselves.
It sounds like you're describing me. I've frequently self-identified as like sabotaging, getting in my own way.
Uh-oh.
Um, not uncut. I go through phases of being like, I tell my wife, "Oh, I'm very trainable," right? Like when she wants me to do something new, I'm like, "Oh, yeah,
Oh, is
sure,
it
I could
me?
learn to do that."
Uh-oh.
Versus times where I feel uncoachable, where it's like, just you know what you need to do, you just need to do more of it. If I lost you, oh, there you are.
You did, and I apologize. I've got the highest internet coming into. I'm in Silicon Valley, and occasionally the internet gets funny, and my apologies.
No, no worries. It might have been my fault. Who knows? I think it records everything in the background anyway. Uh, No, it honestly sounds like you described me in a sense where sometimes I feel like I'm uncoachable, but I also will say, oh, I'm very coachable and trainable. Mostly to my wife when she's like, "Can you learn to do this?" I was like, "I absolutely can, but you have to be very explicit with what you want me to do." And yes, I am trainable.
Oh,
Um,
by the way, we'll do one training exercise that my dad sent to me. Actually, he said that to all of his kids and grandkids. When your wife asks you to do something, you just say yes, dear. That's it. Just it works. Yes, dear.
just keep it simple.
But let's focus on you for a second, if you don't mind. Let's grab your C-pop and because I'd like the audience to see and experience how it feels for you when you get one, because it's always good. And yours, is that okay? You want to?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. I'm probably an ideal kind of example because I'm give you a little more background. Like I came from a world of selling on eBay to selling on Amazon to being software as a service provider to being an author to being a print on demand merchandise seller to being a conference organizer to being a keynote speaker. So I've done a lot of these different
Wow.
things, and I frequently will. I used to say, and I know it sounds so bad now, but if someone said, who's your avatar? Who can you help the most?" I would say, anybody on the internet who wants to make extra money, I am the guy to talk to. And it sounds so bad now, but at the time I believed it. I was like, look, if you don't know what to do on the internet, I can tell you if you should be an eBay seller or an Amazon seller or start a software company or write a book. Like it felt right at the time, but by being for everybody, it was like, well, who are you actually for? And then I kind of went into like the self-publishing, and now to me it's more clear. I can help people best if they already have a book. Look, if you don't have a book, look, I'll point you in the right direction. We'll get you published, not a problem. But if you already have a book, let's get to work because there are doors that you can open that you don't even know about. It's because there's gonna be a lot of overlap, I think, with what you've been doing with your clients, where you're like you and you've known this longer than I have, right? Like the power of author status, and then adapting it to business and networking and speaking and all that stuff. So yeah, I've definitely settled on the people I can help the most are authors, someone who's
Okay.
already published a book. Um, that's ideal. If they haven't published a book and they understand the process, I can certainly still help. But yeah.
So what is their pain point? Why do they say yes to you? What are they feeling bad about?
What are they feeling bad about? They definitely feel overwhelmed. I definitely would say one of my skill sets is helping people get them some, similar to what you said, like clarity of like they're overwhelmed, they don't know what to do, they and there's conflicting information. Like, can I just talk to somebody who knows? And yes, Chris Green answers all my questions. He's a nice guy. He's got good energy. Yes, I want to work with this guy. And that's where like I almost feel, and tell me if you feel the same way. When it's fun, when you're like in that alignment, it's almost like I'll do this for free every day. Sometimes I struggle with saying, look, you got to pay me to do this because I just like doing this, like helping somebody.
Mm.
Like I'm not going to not help you, right? I'm not going to like gatekeep the information unless you pay me. It's like that just kind of feels weird. But then that's the weird kind of human psychology side of it. Well, if I don't charge them, they're not going to take me serious. If I don't charge them, they're not going to do what I tell them to do. Like the people who pay attention side of things, the law of reciprocity, where if I give to them, they want. Like, please, Chris, sell me a package. I'm like, I guess I'll make a package for you. So that's where, if you could probably tell, where I get in my own way sometimes. Of look, when I feel in alignment, I'm helping people. I'll do that all day long. Like it doesn't feel like work. It is not. That's a long answer to some of your short questions. Yeah.
No,
What?
well, by the way, it's really okay because people do that. And when you're speaking, there are things you say that resonate more with your body and how you speak than other things. And so I'm listening for you on a frequency level, right? Who are you, right? So yeah. What about the pleasure point? What if they work with you for a period of time, what are they saying afterwards, or where do you want to bring them?
They're happy that the doors have opened, the networking, they got to meet the right people that they were trying to meet. Like a lot of the kind of accidental things of like, now that you're a published author, like you're going to be in different circles, like different opportunities are going to come across your desk, and they're either happy that I got them published, or got them to do some of the marketing options that they have as a published author. Again, to get clients, to grow social media accounts, whatever they're trying to do with it. And then helping them become a marketer, not even like a reluctant marketer. I talk to a lot of people who are like, I'm just not a marketer. I'm not a salesman. And they don't know the difference between marketing and sales. And they think they're an author, not a marketer. And I'm like, you need to be the best, your number one advocate. Like, if you're not excited about your book, no one else is going to be, right? And in my opinion, is what happens is people think they're trying to sell their book to anybody that comes across their desk, kind of thing. Instead of like, no, find people that have the problem that your book solves and tell them about it. Like, you should want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you would tell them about someone else's book. And when they kind of think of it that way, it's like, oh, right, I'm actually helping people. And then you have to explain to them that people who pay attention. Like, you can't just send them your book for free. They're not going to take it as serious unless they actually bought it. You can give them a discount. You can run a promotion. You can do other things, but you still have to get them to pay. And it's a lot of like helping people past some of the irrational side of human psychology that I feel gets in people's way, to becoming like a good marketer, and realizing a good marketer, like, people want to buy stuff from good marketers. So be a good marketer. Just don't be a bad marketer. Like, a good marketer is not a bad used car salesman. Like, it's different, but I feel they've been conflated in a way. So again, it seems like an overwhelm, confused. They want some clarity. They don't know what's out there, and they want to come to somebody who has the experience, has seen it all, and can point them in the right direction. And it's almost like I just point people in the right direction and send them on their way. And they're like, "Thanks, Chris, you're the best. I'm gonna tell everybody to come over here," because they're spinning around. They don't know which way to go, and they don't want to move forward, because if they go in the wrong direction, now they've gone away from where they're. Now they got to come back and go over here, and leads them to inaction. That's part of it. I mean, I help people take action. Get out of their own way. Stop feeling overwhelmed. I feel like we use a lot of the same words. We do have a lot of overlap with who we help.
We have a lot of overlap, which is great. So, do you remember the gentleman who was really one of the leadership theories, Peter Drucker? Is that a name you still?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny. Some of the younger generation doesn't know Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker had a really interesting set of phrases he would say. He would say, if there's one person in the room who is the decision maker, they are the one that makes the decision, nobody else. And so first, you gotta live with that. Second, if you're talking to the decision maker is the customer and you are the salesperson. Get used to that. As a salesperson, you have to sell. The decision maker does not need to buy.
Yeah, I heard that recently in a different version, where it's actually the customer who ultimately makes the sales decision. It's not the salesman. The salesman isn't forcing anything. They're going to decide if they're going to buy or not. And I do think people get afraid of the word salesman, just in general.
I know. It's we don't want to be one of those. So what's really interesting for me, what popped into mind as you're talking, was a really fun CPOP that incorporated an acronym. And the acronym, because if you are a good salesperson, what are you doing? You're communicating knowledge. You're communicating the knowledge and expertise that you have so that the customer recognizes what that is. They see themselves in that, and they want to buy. Right? So To me, if I was going to give you a CPOP, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. Mine was 8, yours is 7. Okay. And normally I do it in chat as well, so you can see it, but let me say it. I'll say it twice. If somebody says, "Who are you? Who is Chris Green?" There's an audience that I've done so much stuff on the internet, and I've made so much money, and I've now really settled on an audience that I love. pause, authors not happy with their marketing efforts.
That's good, yeah.
Now, I made the first 5 characters of marketing in caps. So authors not happy with their marketing efforts. Now, you could decide that you could, and I'll tell you what MARK, M-A-R-K-E, stands for. Must allow real knowledge exchange. Must allow real knowledge exchange. So let me do your CPOP and tell me more. So
That's good.
there's a set of authors who just really, or there's a set of people. It's really entrepreneurs. It's really authors. It's really, let me tell you, authors not happy with their marketing efforts. Here's the problem. The goal of the book is not to do book sales. That's a nice byproduct. The real goal is to communicate that you're an expert, to really allow real exchange of knowledge so that your customer is one that actually sees you, sees it, and wants to buy from you. What I do is give you a lot of tools, techniques, and approaches in a community, and even one-on-one if you want, that will allow you to be a successful author, which, by the way, means you're a successful marketing and salesperson.
That's good.
Thank you. That's you.
No, I'm gonna, yeah, I'll definitely be using that. No, that's impressive. Do you? So here, personal question: do you realize how good you are at that, or does it come so naturally now that you're like this is easy? What, does it go through your mind like, why can't everybody do this? This seems so easy. Or do you realize that you make something difficult look easy?
It's so when I did the short answer, a little bit more now than in the past, right? To answer your question directly, when I was doing the interviews, I just thought, well, why isn't everyone, like, this is between 2019, why doesn't everyone do it? It just seems natural for me. I've now spent 4 years deploying it. And I just came back from, like I said, I spent a week with Marshall Goldsmith and some of the future leaders of the country from really cool areas, and a bunch of train the trainers. And a number of them were sort of lining up to say, "Hey, Mitchell, give me my CPOP." And I came back from that going, yeah. And there's a magazine that just reached out that said, "Hey, Mitchell, you're probably the #1 clarity person on the planet. Can we publish you, right? We'd like to select you for that." And so the answer is, I'm starting to recognize the power of doing something like that. Now, by the way, I'm honored. Thank you. Now, Chris, here's what's interesting. And for those who are watching, here's what's really important. Typically, when you go to sleep tonight and you wake up in the morning, if the first thing you think about is, wait, what's my CPOP? And it pops in your mind, what's going to happen, and you're probably already doing this now given your background, you're probably saying to yourself, oh my God, I got to change my website and my LinkedIn and my social media. And the answer is yes. When you get aligned with who you are and you could articulate it in 7 words, by definition, all the stuff you've done in the past, some of it is fraught through of marketing cookie cutter stuff. You just haven't done it. You haven't done anything wrong. You've done what society has helped you to do. But now you have an opportunity when you're in alignment is to hopefully stay in alignment. And when you are in your level of alignment, people will see you. They'll get attracted to you. They'll join you not because any other reason than they're feeling the authentic you, which happens to have the intent and commitment to do the right thing by them. They
Sure.
feel that they want to play with you. They want to buy from you.
No, that's perfect. You could almost be like a business therapist on some of this stuff, because I think a lot of people do get in their own way. And once you say, look, now, don't you feel different when you're in alignment? Don't you feel different when you're doing what you are really good at, what you enjoy, what is bringing success to your customers, so they're happy and they're begging to buy more stuff from you? And you're like, yeah, that feels great. Like, it almost doesn't. I would make the case that it cannot feel natural to people, where they're like, this doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to be like working hard. This is supposed to. I
Thank
think
you.
that gets in people's way, and if they're like, it's that thing where they say, oh, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, kind of thing. And they think it's like, well, yeah, but kind of like an urban legend, like that doesn't really happen. It's like, It almost feels
Ooh.
like that needs to be rephrased with the alignment part, where like, no, this is what it feels like. And it's not going to feel normal because most people work really hard because they get paid and they do stuff they don't want to do because that's what we've kind of been taught as like a system. We got work and we got play. Like, no, you can be in alignment and make the most successful amount of money along the way. And when it feels weird, you have to stop and be like, no, that's not weird. That's what more people should be trying to do. Um, and I say that as someone who has kind of struggled with that, to be like when I go to events, I am kind of, my kids, they started coming to some of the events with me as they got older, and they could tell I'm kind of a different person when it's like, I'm in a room of Amazon sellers, I'm in a room of self-published authors. Like, that's my zone. I am more than happy to talk to anybody at length about it because I'm excited about it as well. And then it seems like we're just at a party and not at a conference where I got a booth and a table and I'm supposed to sell books and we got to sign up subscribers. And it's like, oh yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, sure, we can do that. But it's like, oh right, we have to do the business side first, or not first, but in addition to what we're doing. It's not. I don't think of it as too woo woo or anything like this alignment thing. Like, I know what that feels like to be
Yeah.
there, where you're like, yes, do we have the best words to describe it? I don't know. But I think people know when they're in that zone where they're doing something that they like and it's something that helps other people, we need to help people capture that because that can be their business, right? And then that's another
Mm.
conversation to turn it into a job and now turn that job into a business. There's that whole aspect of it. But there are so many, and this is where I get more excited, like the bigger picture stuff. Because I would make the case that self-publishing and the internet and all these things are going to allow more people to enter this kind of alignment around something that they like and be able to make significant revenue doing it and not just have like a little side hustle and all this stuff. Like, yeah, there's a big opportunity there. I love
Nice.
it. This is great.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say, by the way, for those listening, get your CPOP and we'll tell you where to go ahead and do that. What was interesting is just feeling your energy in terms of how you explain this. I have to reread the book or at least get a good summary of the Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. There's a book that quintessential, or What Color Is Your Parachute? I gotta read those books because it's quite possible there's one word missing from both. And if that word is alignment, I'm going to say, hey, listen, here. So I can't say this today because I don't know, but I want to say, hey, this is the one word that's powerful in these books, or this is the one word that's missing in these books. I just don't know which phrase I'm going to use. Okay. And let me tell you what it is, because you don't now need to read the book if you get your CPOP, if you get in alignment. I love that. Thank you. I hadn't had that as what you've done for me in this conversation is you've given me material that I could use as a marketer that will allow me to sell better, right? And
Well, I'm glad I didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident.
I also am, remember, to be successful in life, we have to be coachable. I'm also coachable. So coaching comes even while I was in the driver's seat. Your response, you were coaching me without even knowing it. I just was listening for it. And so thank you.
No, I'm happy that worked. Yeah, you bet. No, this has been a great conversation. Like I say, we both learned a lot. And I hope everybody that's listening to this, kind of learns. Everybody's going to learn something, and yeah, just stay coachable, stay curious, and learn all these different things because more and more things are become democratized. We're going to have access to different things, and the thing that's going to rise to the top are people who enjoy what they do. I would make the case, and this might be like a great topic for a book. The people who are going to kind of win out are going to be the people in alignment. It's going to be tough it will be tough for someone to compete with me in this space who's not in alignment because they're eventually going to get tired of it. They're eventually not going to enjoy because I will do this all day. I will do this no problem, helping authors, use their books for marketing themselves and their business and their personal brands and all of the new things that come out and new ideas that come together by learning about new things. Yeah, I will do that all day because I definitely feel an alignment when I do that, which can make people dangerous, make them unstoppable. And I think once people kind of find their alignment, they're going to be it's like just refreshing to be like, oh yeah, I'm I'm just going to keep, and I think maybe that, if you wrote that book, to keep people in alignment, how do you give them a daily routine where they remind themselves and like, don't get distracted by politics and the news and all this stuff. Like, no, just stay in alignment, dude. Just stay focused. And then turn it into a job, and then turn that job into a business, and then grow it and do as much as you want. There's so much opportunity and overlap there.
Fun.
Yeah. This has been one of my favorite episodes, to be honest. No offense to everybody else who's been on the show.
By the way, I have to tell you, that is always my goal. When somebody has me in their green room ahead of time, I always ask the question, like, what could we talk about? That this is one of those episodes that you're going to refer other people to watch. And I never get a good answer. I always, this is for you, this is not for me. And I rarely get that. So I sometimes don't, I still answer it sometimes, ask that sometimes, but it's hard for people to, and the answer I believe is, and now we're going to talk about, let's talk about alignment. I don't know, we'll see. But anyhow, I'm glad, because this really is, let me be clear for a second. This is kind of fun. I don't mind giving the formula away, right? It's a secret formula. And for those who are on radio, I did the double quote thing. What happens when I interviewed the 500 thought leaders, these are thought leaders. These are super smart people. I would send them a 16-minute video ahead of time. I would say to them, hey, listen, the goal of the interview, and here are 5 questions. Here's the order of the questions. Here's how to answer each question. The first question was, what was your CPOP? So I gave the formula to them ahead of time. 98%. Oh, and I did this. I said, listen, I will give you a special prize if you're in the 2%, because 98% won't get this. I didn't do this until I hit like 50 or 100. Somewhere in there I saw the numbers were. And I said, you could be, so I'd have people come on, Mitchell, I'm in the 2%. Let me tell you my CPOP, right? We would do that in the green room. And the downside is that we have been trained so marketing and sales are not a negative word, but we've been trained of what a marketing cookie cutter approach is. And of the 500 thought leaders, 98% put cookie approaches inside what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, that's not really it, is it? Because that's not really their level of alignment. So I don't mind giving away. And for the 2%, take this and run with it. For the 10% of those who then know how to stay on it, please take this and run with it. You'll be a good advocate for me. You'll be a good advocate for Chris. Right? For the other people, come to us because we could be of service.
Well, people who would like some personalized service, where's the best place for them to find you?
Many people will give you like a ton of URLs. Let me give you one. Just go to my website. It's Mitchell Levy, MITCHELLLEVY.com. You'll see the programs we have. If you want to join a clarity session, we do a group program once a month. It's 90 minutes long. I guarantee everyone gets their CPOP. And then we have the other programs there as well. And from there are other things you want to see, including a calendar that can book time on my calendar. It's at mitchelllevy.com.
Yeah, I am quite the domain nerd, so I'm super psyched that you have mitchelllevy.com. You have your actual name. I have chrisgreen.com as well as authorpreneur.com. I'm a big advocate for having a great domain with a great landing page. Let people know exactly what you do and how they can get in touch with you. And anybody that's looking to write a book or already has a book, they should have some kind of website. And there's an example of where I get out of alignment. If I want to help people pick a domain and set up their website, like, sure, I can help you do that. Am I really known for that? No, I'm known for helping authors who are frustrated with their marketing. Frustrated wasn't the word you said. Not happy with the with the marketing. I did write it down. I will memorize the 7 words.
It's an interesting CPOP. Yeah, I think I like not happy better than frustrated. For some reason, that popped into my head. I mean, I would have liked frustrated because it's 1 word versus 2, but the benefit
not
of the
happy,
word not
but also
happy
not frustrated
is you can say, well, let me tell you why you're not happy, because you have the wrong definition of the word sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, your Tell Me More could go in. Frustrated is a class of your clients. Not happy is the bigger breadth of your clients.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, they may not be frustrated, but they're not happy. Right? So you're not labeling them as a negative, frustrated word versus saying, oh, you're not happy. Yeah, I'm not happy. Lots of people are not happy with all kinds of aspects of their business or their book or whatever it might be. Well, Mitchell, I'm sure we will be talking more. Maybe we'll even do another episode at some point. This was great. Everybody that wants more information can find you online. Mitchell Levy with 3 L's in the middle there. There's 2 L's in Mitchell and then 1 in Levy. MitchellLevy.com. He is very Googleable. You can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Google. Pretty easy to spot online. Mitchell, thanks again for being here. This was great.
Chris, I loved it. Thanks for playing along. I anytime I get to, by the way, in my daily questions, I can now say yes. I've changed one more life.
Perfect. There we go. All right. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast. If you'd like more information about this episode's guest, you can find links to their books, websites, and social media profiles in the show notes and video description. If you're an author or business owner who's interested in learning more about how you can use books in published author status to market and grow your business or personal brand, or if you're an aspiring author looking for more information about the publishing process, you can find more information and request an author audit at authorpreneur.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to recommend someone, please reach out via email to chris@authorpreneur.com. Remember, a book is just a book, but when it's your book, it's an asset. #Authorpreneur.